painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking, KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Art Beat. Art Beat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Art Beat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Today on Art Beat, we share with you an in-depth look at the marvelousness of the theater, as we take you back to the 16th century to talk with the artists and creatives behind the 2024 Great River Shakespeare Festival. Today's guest, scenic designer Leah Ramillano, shares with us her process of designing a set, how she got involved in the Great River Shakespeare Festival, and how being a scenic designer has changed the way she sees the world. If you're interested in scenic design as a career, or just want to relive your glory days as a high school theater tech kid, this one's built for you. I am Abby Hawkey, telling you to grab your tool belt and sketchbooks as we talk with scenic designer extraordinaire Leah Ramillano, today on Art Beat. I'm Abby Hawkey. We are here with Leah Ramillano, and would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. My name is Leah Ramillano, and I am a scenic designer. I did the set for both Hamlet and Much Ado About Nothing for Great River Shakespeare Festival.
Wow, that's awesome. So first question I have for you is, what got you into the Great River Shakespeare Festival? How did you become a part of that process?
So Lonnie Alcaraz is one of the co-associate directors and also does a lot of the lighting design, or has been doing the lighting design there for years. Mm-hmm. And I am not one of his direct students, but I am a student of the MFA program that he teaches, which is the University of California in Irvine. So that's how I got introduced to Lonnie in general. And then 2 years ago, Lonnie hired me for the Community Engaged program, which took place in East End Rec, not actually on the stages. And it was bringing the community together to tell different stories of Winona. It was called All the World's a Stage, a Winona story. So that was my first show with Great River, and then I was asked to return this year.
So how would your process when it comes to designing a set for something like the Great River Shakespeare Festival go?
Well, of course I start with reading the script.
Yeah.
And from there, I like to dissect it in a sort of structure and methodological format, in where I'm breaking down what are the scenic needs, the emotional needs, just sort of really technical things. And from there, I like doing extensive research, both historical and inspirational, and having that in my back pocket when discussing things with the team, with the larger team. I think it's important to come with your own sort of set of inspiration and research, but then have yourself open up to what the director's angle is, and to find where those meet. And so, I think I take a really rudimentary approach at first to help sort of give myself some boundaries and guidelines, mm-hmm. And to get to know what the play needs. And then I lead into research, and then a lot of discussion, a lot of collaboration. And then from there, you kind of get through the nitty-gritty of the technical stuff once we start implementing what it means to be, what it means to take it to reality. I think for something like these two Shakespeares, which have drastically different tones, my interest was, how do we create a stage that is a sort of base set where audiences who come in and see both shows can see that it is still the same set with elements thrown on top of it, to give it its sort of tonal uniqueness to each play. But I wanted it to have a common base set.
Yeah. And I myself in high school and stuff like that, I was on the bill team for a lot of our theater productions. So I have
Awesome.
a little bit of experience when it comes to having to build a set that is, it's changeable, but it has that kind of base thing to it, as you said.
Yeah, totally.
So you're in California. So did you get to come to Minnesota for the set design process, or how do you communicate these kind of ideas from California to Minnesota?
My program is very proficient in a modeling software called Vectorworks, and so it allows us to 3D model our sets, which also is great because it gives you a visual for your team and your director, and basically lets you walk through the set, and it allows for quick changes if things feel like they need to shift and adjust as we're going through that process. So that's been a great way to communicate. I mean, other than that, it's sort of like sketches and research and inspiration. But predominantly, in lieu of a physical model, I just make a 3D model for my directors and team to look at. Yeah, that's basically been the whole process. And luckily through Zoom and all of that stuff, we're able to streamline communication.
Yeah. So is this the first time that you have designed something for a Shakespeare Festival, for Hamlet or Much Ado About Nothing?
Is this the first? I think it is, actually. Oh, I have done a Tempest, but I wouldn't say it was part of a festival. It was a standalone Tempest.
What inspired you to work in set design in the first place? There was an elective my first year of college, and it was a theater course. It was called Playing Well with Others, and it was an ensemble building course, and it fit in my schedule, so I was like, sure, I'll try it. I was in an ensemble show in high school, so I didn't really have much theater experience. I think I was in the Music Man as an ensemble member, and Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat as an ensemble member, because my friends were doing it, and I was like, why not? And so when I got to college, I was like, this would be a fun way to just sort of continue that and not really take it seriously at that point. And because of that, I sort of fell in love with the collaborative aspect of theater. And then that year, a set design class was fit in my schedule, so I was like, okay, sure, why not? I don't really know what to do with my life. Let me just try it. And I really liked it, and I seemed to be good at it, which was also promising. And then the next semester, the only thing that fit in my schedule was set design too. And then from there, I was like, okay, let's try this again. And then I think the more I kept doing it, the more I realized how it just kind of made sense. I've always been artistic. I've always liked understanding space and problem solving on how space interacts with bodies, or how bodies move in space. And I think it just once I realized that theater could be a career, that sort of clicked for me in my understanding that I could be a set designer. And then from there, I think I dove head first. I've always been really insecure that I found theater so late in life, so I think I did 23 productions in 3 years. Wow.
And that was a span of designing, directing, just getting my feet as super, super wet and trying to gain that experience. And then from there I took a year off. Well, I wouldn't say I took a year off. I did an assistantship with the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and then the next year I did one with PCPA here in Santa Maria, California. And then I went to grad school at UC Irvine. So, that's sort of my path. I feel like I fell in love with the sort of working with other people first, and then realized how much set design fit into that as well.
Yeah.
But, I mean, before that, I didn't even realize set design was a thing.
My next question for you is, when it comes to being a set designer, how has this affected the way that you see the world?
I think anything can be inspiration, big or small, and I think that is important. So I feel like my brain is kind of a camera sometimes. I'll see something that looks interesting. Maybe there's no reason to think on it at that moment, but I'll keep it in my back pocket just in case. Yeah, I think that's part of it. It's just like knowing that you can find inspiration literally anywhere. And then on the less visual aspect of it, I think working in theater teaches you how to be collaborative and empathetic, and I think that's helpful in maybe difficult situations or situations where you're not maybe seeing eye to eye with other folks. I think being part of a team and really leaning into empathy and then understanding things from the other side of the table in regards to like design or work or decision making, I think has been also pivotal in how I not necessarily work in my own silo, but when I work with other people.
You can't be, you can't be a hermit when it comes to designing sets and things like that, because it totally is such a collaborative thing. Yeah. So when it comes to, set designing, how many people do you usually work with when it comes to something like the Great River Shakespeare Festival?
So many. It takes a village to put on a show. Mm-hmm. So, of course, directors, and in this case we had two, and then we're talking about producing folks who sometimes have input, especially when it comes to budget. Our production manager, big shout out to Ella Egan, who I think has put out so many fires this season and continues to do so. Set design specifically, I had my technical director, David Rudy Utter, who is really, really wonderful. And then the apprentices under him, and working with our props designer, Carl Goffal, as well as his apprentice, and then collaborating with, like, Avery Regan, who is our lighting designer and our sound designer and costumes to make sure everything feels like it's of the same world. Like, especially, I mean, if folks have seen Hamlet, there's a pipe structure with bulbs and stuff, and that was very much a scenic lighting sound once we got it to work. And finding the sort of language that we needed to push the story forward. It was such a massive collaboration between scenic lighting and sound. But really, I mean, yeah, I think in an ideal world, you're kind of working with everyone to an extent. Maybe not every collaborative relationship is at 100%, but it is like you're sort of in each other's business to at least be on the same page.
Yeah.
Oh, and then our paint charge, of course. Oh, how could I forget? Paint is a whole other separate category.
It is. What would you say is the most challenging part of being a set designer?
What is the most challenging part? It's sometimes just working in a space you don't know. I wouldn't even call it challenging. It just, like, this was my first time working on the WC stage. So in a way, I was sort of learning newer things as I was on the ground. And granted, this is also only Great River's second year doing it, so I think we were all learning things together.
Yeah.
So learning a space is definitely, the more you work in a space, the more you have tools to problem solve, and you kind of know what you're up against. And so I think that's part of it. And sometimes working with a new team in general, and it's not necessarily hard. It's just, sometimes when you work with a team multiple times, you do have a bit of a shorthand, and you kind of go with the flow with it, and sometimes people work differently. So it's just like adapting to the situation. And I think in a more practical sense, theater is expensive to produce. And especially nowadays, the economy is not what it was. And the arts are not as supported. And I think we're all sort of feeling it as an industry. So I think that in a practical sense, that would be what's super difficult.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of being a set designer?
Getting to work with really great people. I mean, I think I have a friend who says, theater is not my thing, but theater people are my thing. And I believe it. There are a lot, I think, I think it's a special breed of people.
Yes.
I think they're kooky and fun and artistic, but overall I really enjoy working with the people I work with, and that part's really rewarding. And then at the end of all that, when you come up with a good show and a good process, like it's that part's wonderful. And the great thing about Great River is they really do foster an environment where we can be artistic and we can try to make these choices, and we can try to and we welcome discussion and questioning and collaboration, and it doesn't feel like everyone has to have the answers all at the same time, which is nice. It kind of lets us breathe a little bit into the process. But I think a really great collaboration with a wonderful outcome is, I feel like, what we strive for, because sometimes it's like you could have a great outcome and then have a not so great collaboration process or vice versa. But when you have both, I think that's sort of a little bit of a glimpse of heaven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. What are your recommendations for young people that may not know that set design is something that they could do with the rest of their lives,
I would say getting as much experience as you can. And I mean in all departments. You don't have to go dive wildly deep into others, but I think it's important to get to know them so that you understand the collaboration process and seek out internships, assistantships, ideally ones that pay, because, you have to know your worth. Researching on any of those, like Great River has a great apprenticeship program, and as does the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which finally theirs is coming back. It was on hiatus for a while. Ask questions. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions with people on your team. Don't be afraid to be involved in, like, if your school has a production and you're sort of like, I feel like people I think that, like, the only thing to do on a play is acting, but, like, if you have a different interest, please ask other people. Like, I would like to, experience stage management or shadow people and stuff like that. Watch shows as best as you can. I understand that theater can sometimes be pricey, but it doesn't hurt to experience other people's work and observe what works in them. And I feel like theater artists are pretty accessible, which is nice. I mean, if you like someone's work, like, look up their bio. They will likely have a website, and they will likely have contact. And I am speaking for myself in this, but I know me, and most of my friends who work in the industry would not mind answering questions in email, especially if it's a younger artist that is interested in this work. I can't picture a lot of us turning it down. Some of us might be really busy and won't be able to answer right away, but, like, I can't imagine someone scoffing at an email asking someone about their work and about their interest in it. And who knows, maybe that can build into a relationship later on. But I think it's important to build relationships and experience while you can. And it's sort of like a combination of, like, hands-on and I really wanted to go to grad school. I don't want to say I recommend it, because, like, I know that school is not for everyone, but I know that I really loved my experience in grad school, and it also created a network for me to rely on. Like, I feel like my friends and I are constantly passing each other jobs, or, like, we hear about a job and we send it off to each other, or folks who are graduating from our program, I know they'll get sent off to be either our assistants or something, but I do think, aside from just the educational aspects of grad school, you do get a network out of that, and a connection to other designers and other avenues of employment. And know that design can be applied to other industries. Like, I have friends who are in themed entertainment, like theme parks, and others who are in events. I actually have a corporate job. I'm a drafts person for Mattel, the toy company. So.
Yes.
Which is wonderful, because then it allows me to sort of have stability, but then because I work remotely, I can kind of go anywhere. And and luckily my department has been really incredible and supportive, especially because I get my work done regardless. But yeah, I think it's important to know that like there is a wide variety of avenues that folks' talent can be used in.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So I have just one more question to ask you. What, in your mind, is a successful set when it comes to story and building and all of that?
I mean, this is kind of biased for me. I like a set that, like, when you walk into the space, you kind of feel something. And it doesn't have to be in your face, feel something, but it evokes a certain tone. And I'd like to think that the Great River sets were pretty successful in that. Like, I feel like when you walk into Hamlet, there's a sort of tone of seriousness and oppression and stuff like that. And then when you walk into Much Ado, there is fun and celebration, and they feel vastly different.
Yeah.
Do I think my sets were perfect? No, but I do think they were successful. But I think when you walk in and a tone is set, I think that's important to me. And the other aspect would be a set that's not getting in the way of the story. I don't want, like, as exciting as it is for audiences to be able to comment on a set, like, I don't really want them to walk away only commenting on the set, right? Like, I want it to feel like everything was so cohesive that we were able to push this story forward and support the story without getting in its way. And I think those are two, like, very vague, I think, success markers.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, thank you very much. I did come up with one more question. What
no problem.
You have seen a lot of sets in your time, whether it's going to other theater productions or creating one your own. What has been, you say, your favorite set that you have either seen or created?
Favorite set that I've seen or created? This is not easy. Like, there's just so many things that, like, I feel like are successful in their own way. I don't know. I mean, I love the Hadestown set. I think it sets a gritty tone, but then, like, the effects that they use are, I mean, if the pendulum lights are sort of like a very simple concept, but they're used so effectively, and I think that's what I love about some sets, where it's just like, this is not like a rocket science idea, but like the way it's used is evocative and beautiful. So, I mean, I guess I'll put Hadestown up there. And the way it's used and how, like, the band is up there, I think that's super incredible. There is, this is a set I actually helped paint at OSF movie 13, and it was on their Elizabethan stage, and it was Cymbeline. It was 3 different shows. It was Cymbeline, Midsummer Night's Dream, and the U.S. premiere of The Heart of Robin Hood, but it completely transformed the stage, and just the sort of compositional elements of it and how it took nature and put it on the stage, and it was to the point where, like, a month into the season, they were starting to find, like, creatures in the set because they kind of started making it their home, because it's an outdoor stage and there was, like, fake shrubbery in it. So that set was incredible. As far as the ones I worked on, this is so funny. I love the musical set I've done just because it's so fun, and I pulled straight from the books, and you know, like, my favorite type of things to work on are more like nitty gritty, but, like, Seussical is just so different from what I normally do, so I think it's standing out in my head right now, and I'm actually about to remount it at the end of the month with basically the same set, and I think that's a favorite because it's different from anything else I've done. But yeah, in so few words, I guess what I'm saying is right now is Hadestown, but I have a feeling it'll change.
Yeah. thank you very much for talking with us.
I hope I didn't sound too dumb.
No, you did not. You did not.
Great.
Thank you very much. I'm Abby Hawkey. We were talking with Leah Ramillano here on KQAL 89.5. And just thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Yep. Thanks again to Leah Ramillano for joining us today on Artbeat. For more information on Leah and the festival, go to grsf.org. For more conversations on art, tune into Artbeat, Tuesdays at 12:30 right here on 89.5 KQAL. For podcasts of Artbeat and other KQAL original programming, go to kqal.org. I'm Abby Hawkey, and you just heard from Leah Ramillano right here on Artbeat.
Artbeat is written and produced by KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at kqal.org.